Hello, welcome to the Believe Show. Today, our guest is Joe Sullivan. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Senya, and thank you very much for inviting me. It's truly an honor.
I'm thrilled you're here. So I'm going to tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll get right into what you believe. You may already know Joe from Joe's Top 5. It was a huge LinkedIn article that I loved the reactions to, and we will be talking about in depth here. But let me tell you a little bit more about Joe, in addition to Joe's Top 5. Joe Sullivan, he currently coaches senior executives and rising executives across the globe. Before coaching, Joe was the senior vice president of worldwide operations for Logitech, where he built a high-performing collaborative culture, recruiting and developing a powerful team capable of leading Logitech for many years to come. Joe believes success is an outcome of a set of experiences built up over time, and given the right leadership, individuals and teams will realize dreams and accomplish goals well beyond what they thought possible. So welcome, Joe, to our program.
Thank you very much.
Joe, let me start with what I love counterintuitive beliefs, and this is the Believe Show. What is it that you believe that others in your field would disagree with you about?
You know, I think that there's a lot of people who believe that success is measured by your job title, how many people work for you, and how much money you make, and all of these kind of material things. I believe something different. I believe that we'll be measured by our values and how we pass those values on to the people that follow us and the future that those people create. For example, when I left Logitech and I retired, they gave me a big party. There were a couple of hundred people there, and I was very impressed. But when I left, all of those great things that I did, the money I saved, the people, all forgotten. 5 minutes afterwards, I'm probably being blamed for everything that ever happened in the company.
Okay, I am sure that didn't happen, but
what people do remember me for are the people that I brought into the company, the people that I trained, and the people that have taken on and are creating the future for Logitech. So that's my counterintuitive belief.
How can people measure that? So you led a huge global team, operations worldwide. How can people know to leave that kind of legacy? How will that be measured if they aren't leading, huge teams?
Yeah, no, I think the best, being a great leader is it's not complicated, but it's also hard work. Being a leader in an organization like Logitech or having thousands of people report to you is like standing on a street corner in a busy intersection in New York City, Times Square or something like, with the pandemic, maybe it's a little less, but you're in this, you're trying to get across the street. You've got all these inputs, you got cars, you got noise, you got everything, right? And so you have to have some method to clear away all that noise and to prioritize and then communicate. And that's what Joe's Top 5 is all about. It's all about, how do I find a system that I can use that helps me clarify and then communicate with consistency? And when you do that, you build people that are able to think on their own and lead big organizations. And for me, that was my goal. For the last 10 years at Logitech, my only goal was to lead the next generation of leaders. And I will be remembered by, Prakash Kundram. Yeah, Joe Sullivan brought him in. Elaine Laird. Oh, yeah, Joe Sullivan brought her in. Michelle Herman. Oh, yeah, Joe Sullivan brought her in. All of these things were people that I worked with over the course of the time that I was at Logitech that still today make me proud. When I see their announcements and things, the great things they've done on LinkedIn and whatever, and I see a great quarter like Logitech just had, it makes me very proud of the work that I did there.
Oh, that's so here, if I'm following your stream, this is what you're saying. Most people believe, and I totally agree with you, that success is about, I've accumulated this, or I have this, or this is, and you're saying, no, set all that aside. It's really about the leadership that you have given to other people who are following after you. Is that right?
Yes. And it's your values that actually drive the leadership, right? And then it's their imitation of those values that they become their own values because they've seen you as a role model. And then after you leave, you continue to be a presence because those people continue on those values.
Yeah. Let me share something with the people who are with us today. This is Joe's website. And on Joe's website, which is at ljsullivan.com, you can go to Joe's Guiding Principles, where it has these Joe's top 5. And as you see, it also has the invitation to what are your top 5. And I'll also be sharing in the links Joe's LinkedIn article about this piece, which I love. So let's get into this, Joe. These are your top 5. These are the top 5 principles. Tell us, for the people here who haven't read your article, how did you come up with these top 5? What are these, and how did you come up with these?
Yeah. So the top 5 are is a synthesis of experiences I had over time and a series of themes. We'll start there. And I'll say, look, I believe in memorable moments. You have these moments in your life that create lasting impressions and have an impact on you. I had 3. The first one was when my daughter was born. She had a very serious heart defect and needed surgery on her first day. At that point in time, I was really driving hard in my career. And I was, in fact, I had a 360 that said, Joe's great, gets a lot done, but he leaves a trail of bodies behind him. That's the type of guy I was. And so I said, when she was going into surgery and I'm sitting there in the waiting room and I'm saying, what's really important is whether or not I can take a breath today, whether or not I breathe. Everything else is small change. All that other job stuff is small change. Point number 1. Point number 2, and it's in my article, I had an interview 20 years ago, and I had to meet with an industrial psychologist, and I hadn't even sat down in my chair yet, and she looked at me and she said, "What do you do, Joe?" And I said, "Well, I'm the vice president of global manufacturing and quality for a $12 billion company. I have 6. No, she cut me off. And I said, "Well, I manage this budget." No, she cut me off again. And I sat back and I took a deep breath when she asked the question the third time. And I said, "I'm going to blow this. I'm going to lose this if I don't answer something profound." And I looked at her and I dug deep and I said, "I'm a leader. I get people to recognize dreams and accomplish goals they never thought possible." That was number 2. Number 3 was 10 years ago, I was asked to give a speech to second-year MBA students. And the topic was, what does they have to do to have a successful career? I looked at myself, I said, how do I know? I'm still working on it, right? But as I was putting the presentation together, I said, look, success is a series of experiments, is the outcome of a set of experiences built up over time. Much like if you were building a house of bricks, you put bricks in, you put mortar in, you let it set, and you build and you build and you build, right? So I created this and I was going through it. I took Post-it notes. I love Post-it notes. I took Post-it notes and I put them up on my thing and I put them up on the wall, and I had over 100. Those were the key experiences I had in my life. There were over 100, and I said, there are 5 key themes here. Those 5 themes became Joe's top 5. Okay. And then
cool. I love the Post-it notes. So here, but really, you could see it. You could see between all of those Post-it notes. Here are the themes.
Yeah, they just came out so clear to me, right? And then the presentation went really well. In fact, I still today communicate by email and by phone with a number of students that were in that class 10 years ago. But it went well. I went back to Logitech to work. One of my colleagues said, "How'd your presentation go?" I said, "I think it went pretty well." And she said to me, "What was it about?" I said, "It was about Joe's top 5 life lessons." And of course she said to me, "Well, what are they?" And I said, "Well, number 1, it's not about you. Number 2, participate and be present. Number 3, oh man, I'm having a blank. I just blanked out. Number 4, I said, make your own decisions. And number 5, above all, be all you show." And I looked there and I was dumbstruck and I was embarrassed. And I said, if these are my top 5 life lessons, why can't I remember them? And so I said, I've got to find a way. I have to have a system to find a way to remember these.
I love that. Yeah. So then what was it? What was your system? Go on.
So I started the next day. I went back through my Post-it notes, back through my notes, back through the presentation. I said, yes, these are the top 5. By the way, number 3, listen, right? And participate, right? Listen, because when you're talking, you're not listening. So then I said, okay, I have to reinforce this. I can never forget these again. So I sat down and I took a 3x5 index card and I wrote them down. And every morning since that time, before I have a cup of coffee, before I do email, before I do anything, I sit down and I hand write out those top 5 and reinforce them to the point they become muscle memory. In fact, I did it today. And here,
yeah, can you go over to, yeah.
This is my top 5 card for today.
That's awesome.
Right? And so then what happens is you come into decisions that are routine and whatever. The top 5 takes over. It's routinized. It's muscle memory. Easy to make those decisions. The tougher ones you spend a little bit more time on. And then when you have to, go ahead.
Take us through. I know your top 5, but our viewers don't. Take us through your top 5, please.
Okay. So the first one is it's not about you. Mm-hmm. And when I give my talks and workshops about this, I use an example of a surgeon. You know, a surgeon does the heavy lifting and the cutting and doing whatever in a surgery, but there's a whole panoply of people around him. There's anesthesiologists, there's nurses, there's other doctors, there's all kinds of people making sure the patient lives. And then they take them to ICU and they take care of them, right? The surgeon did this work, but without all those people around him, the surgeon could not have been successful, right? Yeah. And I know a lot of surgeons because my daughter's had a lot of operations. The second one is to participate and to be present in everything you do. I used to think that it was important to me, and I measured my success by how many meetings I got invited to. And then I would say, at the end of the day, it was 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and then I had to do my day job. So my day job became what I call a hide time job, out of my hide, right? And I was working till 10, 12 o'clock at night doing the stuff I was supposed to do in the day because I kept going to these meetings where I had no input and didn't add any value. So
Joe, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, if you're not going to add value, you need to say, thank you very much, decline the meeting, send me the minutes.
Joe, I can't tell you, you must see this as an executive coach a lot as well. I see this so often as an executive coach, and so do our other executive coaches, that people have so many meetings during the day that their only alone time and time to get effortful work is, and that's not right. That's not right, that they're working crazy hours because the meetings take up so much. So just like you're saying, participate, be present in the that you're in.
And not only that, you know, I've come to learn that you cannot be open to change unless there's some joy in your life, right? How can you have joy in your life if you're working till 12 o'clock at night doing just your day job? How can you spend time with your family? How can you spend time with the things you like? You can't. So you have to say, if I cannot add value, I'm going to step away and not participate in a meeting because it's important to other people, and I'm going to give them the chance. Send me the minutes.
Okay, number 2, participate, be present. Number 3?
Number 3 is to listen. You know, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we talk, right? You'd be surprised where the best ideas come from. I wrote a posting on LinkedIn about, listen, I call it Tom's story. It's about a janitor that I ran into in one of my first jobs who everybody passed by and didn't even think about. And he gave me an idea for a $1 million cost saving idea, right? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the really important thing is, here's this guy that for 20 years had pushed a broom on the night shift and everybody didn't pay attention to him. We hit a 10% bounty on cost savings. He got a check for $100,000. So you never know where great ideas are going to come from. So listen.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That by itself, that's the highlight of this talk for me today. That's awesome. That's right. Wow.
And then the number 4 is to make your own decisions and then be prepared to defend them. You know, as I got higher and higher up in the organization, you know, I had 1,800 people that worked for me. And I would go into a meeting and they would expect me to have all the answers and do whatever. Somebody would give me a suggestion and I would look at them and I'd say, because my normal modus operandi was to drill down, right? Go to the next level, get in the lean, they call it the 5 whys. Why this, why this, why this, why this, why this, right? And so I would dig back, and people that didn't know me would say, oh, he doesn't agree with me. He's challenging my thing. No, I was just trying to figure out what the background was, what the important things were, and how much you believed in it. And they would, a lot of times they would say, oh, Joe doesn't agree with this. So they would step away from their idea. Their idea might have been the best thing on the planet. But you have to be prepared to defend them. Not all of your suggestions are going to go your way, but be prepared to defend them. And then the number 5 is, it's a quote from Shakespeare, King Lear, paraphrased. It's be more than you show. I think the quote is actually, show more than you knoweth, say less than you speaketh less than you knoweth, and be more than you showeth, right? So it's about not having to be the star all the time, right? And being a little bit subdued, so that you're not taking the air and eating all the oxygen up in the room. And I have another little story here, and this is my friend David's favorite story, and that is when I was 18 years old, I thought I was pretty cool, right? Just graduated from high school. I was going to a selective university in the fall. I was a lifeguard at a beach, and I had also been selected by the United States Karate Association to represent the United States Karate Association at the World Championships.
That's really cool. Wow.
Yeah, it's not so cool. You'll see in a minute.
Oh.
So I'm getting ready to go to these championships, right? And I'm getting ready to leave, and my sensei, 85 years old, Master Pai, comes to me. And, his English wasn't that great. He escaped from Shanghai in 1939. And he says to me, Joe, you're pretty proud of yourself, aren't you? I said, yeah. He said, you think you're pretty bad? Yeah. He said, always somebody better. And so I said, okay, thanks. And I went off and went to the championship. By the way, there's all kinds of preliminaries before the actual championship. So I was at the first round of the first qualifying, and I step into the ring, and bang, I get beat in 30 seconds, and I'm going home. Right? And by the way, the guy that beat me was Chuck Norris.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Sorry, that's such an unexpected twist. This is Chuck Norris at age 18 or something?
Yeah. Well, he was a little bit older. He didn't win the championships that year. He won it 2 years later, and he was in a competing group, the United Fighting Arts, and everything like that. But obviously, he was better than me. Great lesson in staying within yourself
and your own humility. This is the one, Joe. This is the one of your 5. The others, they made sense. Here, I'll run through them. It's not about you. That makes sense, right. Especially your surgeon example. Participate and be present. Just actually, and this is the one where you also at the end mentioned, look for that joy. Bring that joy into your life. It totally makes sense. Listen, I'm a coach, so I buy into this 100%. I really love this, and that you made it so into your top 5. Make your own decisions and be prepared to defend them. This is the one that when I read your piece, which I've linked to people in the comments, above all, be more than you show. I really wanted to know what it was. So you've given me that. You've shown me it's that humility. It's because I just wasn't sure what you meant. Be more than you show. But I think what I'm starting to see is be humble is part of it.
Yes, it is. And stay a little bit within yourself, right?
And so you have this. You have these 5. I'll put just this up again. You have Joe's top 5. You write it on a card. It's right there. You just showed us. Which ones do you think you reference during the day? Just on a regular day, like even today. We're in California. It's 11 in the morning. What have you referenced or thought of in your head so far?
Well, I'm listening. Listening is the key to everything. And I think that listening, when you listen, you gain self-awareness. When you gain self-awareness, right, you're able to then understand yourself and become a coach and a mentor because you're listening. You get empathy for other people, right? When you listen and you have self-awareness, you get empathy. Empathy helps you become a coach and a mentor, right? Listening also helps you get social awareness. When you have social awareness, you're able to be a conflict resoluter, right? And when you can do conflict resolution, then you can become an influencer in an organization. And when you bring those two things together, then you're an inspiring leader. So listening is really important and probably the prime directive for most coaches.
Look at this. You've just built the whole foundation. First it's this, then it's this, then it's this. Suddenly you're an influencer, and all because you started at listening.
Yeah. Right.
We always ask the people who are with us on this program, what are your takeaways so far? I will put them on the screen one by one. What are your takeaways? What is something you're going to try and experiment from these? Maybe it rattled off a thought that you may have had before. Maybe it's a new idea. So here they are. It's not about you. Participate and be present. Listen. Make your own decisions and be prepared to defend them. And above all, be more than you show. So let us know, what are you going to try as you walk away from today? Yeah. So Joe, how should people implement this? Because I see at least two different things, even from your own speaking. One is to try out your top 5, but another is you encourage people to experiment on their own. What should people do?
Yeah, Nito Cobain said, you got a great idea and it's nothing unless you have a system, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, the top 5 is just a thought provoker. It's my top 5. It's the system that I put together for me. Maybe it's not the right system for you, but let's work together and see if we can develop that for you. What are those values and those experiences that create your own top 5? And I always say, by the way, if you're stuck, you can use my top 5 as a starter kit, right? And so I'm constantly looking at ways to improve all of those top 5s. Every day I question whether or not I should add a 6th or I should take one away and put it in there. And for 10 years, I haven't done that yet. Right?
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I would encourage you to sit down, take your Post-it notes out, right? Write down all the experiences you've had in your life, good and bad, right? Good bosses, bad bosses, good friends, bad friends, all of your relationships and everything. And then post them up on the wall and say, is there any themes that come through here? These are the things that, it's like working to your strengths. If you work to your strengths, you're a happier person, right? If these experiences have really made an impact on you, then it becomes easy to lead. It becomes easy. It takes all that confusion away and it takes all that complexity away because you have clarity and consistency in your communications.
So you're saying a couple of things. You're saying this is a thought starter and let's see what your own are. Or if you don't yet have your own, first of all, do this experiment with your good and bad experiences and try out mine if you want. If you want a placeholder until you develop yours, try out Joe's top 5.
Yeah, exactly. And I've done that with hundreds of people so far. And I get notes from people all the time. Hey, Joe, I replaced one of your top 5 with one of my own. That's fabulous.
Go for it. Yeah.
Exactly. Help me out. Tell me why you did it, what you want. Maybe I will change mine for yours.
Joe, thank you so much. First of all, it's delightful being on with you. We haven't talked in a while, and it's delightful being on. Thank you. I really enjoy this. I have 2 more questions for you. Don't get ready to go. I have 2 concluding questions. One question is, what thought or idea would you like to leave people with as we end this segment?
Yeah, I already kind of blew it because I really wanted to leave it with by the way, Chuck Norris was the guy that beat me. That'd be the end. I like to leave meetings with a kind of a boom, mic drop. But, I think the thing is that you have to start someplace, right? And the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Right? You have to start. You have to sit down and you have to look at this and say, I want to be better. How can I be better? And then actually be honest with yourself and authentic and come up with your own top 5.
Start somewhere.
Right.
Okay. And my concluding question, if you could snap your fingers just like that and everyone in the world or almost everyone were to take some action, what action would you want that to be?
Oh, I would like them to think, number one is that it's not about you, right? We're living in just a troublesome time with all kinds of craziness going on. and not enough people thinking about how their actions affect other people, and how we can be better if we would just sit down and say, hey, look, it's not about me. It's about all of us together. And how do we get along, and how do we get along together? So I would sit down and take a deep breath and say, it's not about me. It's not about my title. It's not about how much money I made. It's not about this. It's about how do I make the world a better place.
Thank you so much, Joe Sullivan. Thank you.
Thank you, Senya. Thank you very much for having me on. And I love your show.
Delightful having you on. And I am just saying this on camera so you know, please come back again. Okay?
I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We are here Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific every day. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for Cello Series number 6.
Great.